it's easy to produce content, but it's not as easy to connect the content to what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's it. A lot of people just want to hit the easy button. I know I did, but it's so easy to fall in that trap where it's sort of meaningless.
Welcome to The Going Rate. I'm Nikki Doherty, brand ambassador at Epicosty, and with me, as always, is our growth strategist, Jay Bachmeyer. Hey, Jay.
Hello, good morning.
Happy National Puppy Day.
Oh, it is. I didn't know that. Where'd you get that from?
Oh my gosh, have you never checked out the national holiday, like online access resource, mecca calendar of everything that happens and celebrates on a single day?
It's been a while. I used to do that in another occupation before when I was doing marketing promotions for healthcare, but it's been a while since I've been following those.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, you're missing out, right?
yeah, I certainly feel like it now, right? It's like I had no idea.
You had no idea puppy kisses were coming your way today, this morning when I was talking to you.
Yeah, no kidding. And
Oh,
that's interesting. I remember doing it specifically because I just didn't have a lot of time, right? You're doing everything all the time, everywhere, and you wear multiple hats. Specifically, our bank and credit union marketers. They have a lot of things on their plate, and that's a real easy way to get to look at promotions, look at how you're going to talk to your audiences through social media. But how do you typically use it, or what do you think the value is in those promotional calendars?
oh my gosh, I'm 100% on the same page with you. I used to look at those all the time and say, like, okay, I've got some blank days for what I'm going to do for social media. What can I make fit? What can I make align? What can we celebrate? How can I make that work within the FI that I was working at the time? Take like puppy day. That would have been a good one. Everybody loves sharing images of their fur babies. So I knew I was going to get traction on that.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is just I needed to content plan a calendar out. I needed to
Hmm.
report that calendar up the chain so that they knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that was an easy way to get it done.
Yeah, yeah, for real. And I totally understand, especially on social media, right? It's just the output of it has to be so frequent that you kind of almost need something to be easy in your life. So you follow
Yeah.
one of those calendars and you put that content together. And that makes a lot of sense, right? I think it's commonly accepted. People use it often. And when leadership is like, hey, why are you doing this? You can be like, oh, well, it's National Puppy Day today. Why not? Right. So,
Exactly.
even though it might not necessarily be the right thing, it certainly makes sense.
Yeah. So you just said it might not be the right thing.
Hmm.
Jay, like, I know that everybody celebrates the puppy day, or you've got your national holidays and your standards, your Christmas, your
Yeah.
Hanukkah, your Valentine's Day, and those I get posting on those too. But just like you said, why would you not celebrate those, or what do you think would be a better tactic, Jay?
Yeah. I mean, it's it's good to follow those, as I mentioned, for social media. But at the end of the day, we as marketers are responsible for goals, right? We have to
Mm,
bring our campaigns to fruition. We have to track and measure them, and at the end of the day, we have to report and say this is what this did. And I think that sort of the downside of looking at all these promotional calendars is it's not really attached to a specific goal. You're not really trying to achieve your business objectives. You're not really trying to get the loan growth or the deposit growth. Because, I mean, let's be honest, like Puppy Day is great. It's going to get a lot of engagement, but what does that have to do with your bank? What does it have to do with your loans or your financial services? So I think the fundamental challenge there is it's easy to produce content, but it's not as easy to connect the content to what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's it. A lot of people just want to hit the easy button. I know I did to
yeah.
make those uh, to make the content out there at the frequency needed to get in front of my audiences. But it's so easy to fall in that trap where it's sort of meaningless. And then, when you also consider, and this is especially true in healthcare, certainly other industries and banking as well, But everybody is then doing this. They're celebrating the same time frames, the same days, the same thing. Puppy days, kitten days. Weird, obscure days based on like books, like Lord of the Ring Day, or um, and all that stuff. Just sort of, it's like, well, if I'm saying that, and all the other banks in my region are saying that, then how am I really standing out from my audiences? How am I creating something unique? And there again, like, what does that mean to me? I would say that a good example of Puppy Day is, you know, obviously, I think the initiative tied to employees is always good. So you can highlight your employees. You can take it as a chance to sort of get a little little HR out of it, a little employee lift out of it. Um, but I think it's always, how do you tie it back to the brand, and what does that mean? And I think sometimes it can seem like that is pretty effortless. There again, everybody's saying it. You're not standing out. So if everybody's saying it, then it's pretty effortless. You didn't put a lot of thought behind it. You don't have any tracking back to your goals. Um, it's really hard to show the value once you start to accumulate all of these things. It's sort of like, hey, we had all of these posts lined up for the next 3 months, but really didn't get a lot of traction out of that. And that's always sort of feels bad for sure. So yeah,
I think you said some key phrases. And I remember when we had Cooper on the Going Rate podcast too.
yeah,
And he gave us that awesome breakdown of the 70-20-10, right? And so I get when people look at this and be like, yeah, but puppy day is fun. And I know I'm going to have some interaction, or it's chip dip day too. I bet you didn't know that one, Jay.
no, I
And so
didn't.
what if I put, what if I put chips in my lobby and invite everybody to stop in? So
There
I
you
think
go.
that there's a balance, right? Like I understand doing and using those calendars, but like you said, make sure it's different so you don't blend in. And it's just not a picture of a apple blossom tree saying happy first day of spring. Well, what does
Yeah.
that first day of spring mean to your members or to your brand? And then you can use that and customize the message, and then that'll help you stand out. You feel the same there?
Exactly. It's interesting because the spin. Maybe you still want to talk about National Coffee Day, right?
Yeah.
But maybe your credit union is really, supporting the vets, or vet owned and operated, right? So then maybe you should find a veteran owned coffee group, right? And make a partnership there, and, advocate that you're going to do free coffee. I know around here, some banks and credit unions actually will buy the first, $500 or $1,000 coffees at the drive-through at a specific location, sort of as just to celebrate both the day, but then it gets a little bit more brand exposure. It kind of ties back to what they're trying to achieve, which is get a little bit of business, and then they can craft some unique messaging, and that makes sense. It's not ideal
Mhm.
because everybody else will be celebrating coffee, but it's tailored to you. And to that extent, this also sort of coincides, if you think about it on a larger scale, promotional calendars in general, which is, you know, how we like to sort of plan and market lines of business, right?
Oh,
So, it's also interesting to see how these two things sort of overlap, where people are like, oh, well, spring and summer's coming. That's when people are moving out. That's when they're looking to buy houses. Let's do a big marketing promotion around that. They're running their mortgage campaigns. They're running their HELOCs. And then it comes to winter and they're like, okay, let's turn off all mortgage campaigns. Let's turn off all of these things. And it's like, well, there's still people who are buying houses. It's not like they're just like, oh, well, it's too cold. I guess I won't do it anymore. It's like there's
right.
still a need. People are still moving around. They're still doing it. And I think um, that's missed opportunity, because here again, everybody's promoting during the summer, right? Vehicle loans, they're promoting mortgages, and then they kind of stop when it starts to get colder, when you'd say it's the off season, but that's where the opportunity really is to get in front of your audiences during that off season, because guess what? That's not when they're being blasted with messaging for the same thing. That's how you can stand out, right? If everybody's running in one direction, maybe it's a good idea to turn around and walk in the other way just to see what happens.
Exactly. And just like in your previous life and my previous life too, I was September, October, plan out the marketing calendar for the next year. And you do
Yeah.
look at those. Like you have a certain dollar amount, that goes to media, your promotion, your internal. And sometimes you even had to give the incentive for the loan officers in your budget as well too. So I get that. And I feel like people get stuck in that rut. Same with going to, promotional calendar, national holiday calendar. You're stuck. You're creatively stuck. Your juices are, and you don't know what new ideas are out there. So, how can we help our friends come up with those new ideas, Jay?
Yeah, and
Obviously, first by giving us a call.
that exactly. Well, I stay focused on your goals, stay focused on your objectives. What are you trying to achieve? There's a thing that I talk about called diminishing returns. And kind of, I think when you're promoting the same service as everybody else is during that summer period, let's say, there's only so much you can invest and only so much that audiences are going to respond to. There comes a point where you hit diminishing returns, which is the more you invest, the less you actually get. So I think knowing what your diminishing returns is during the peak season, right, of
Mm,
these promotions makes a lot of sense. And don't overinvest in those. Instead, move what you would have invested, skim that off the top, and put it during the slow seasons or the off season, so to speak. And I
yeah.
think just play with that, right? It's about experimentation. It's about seeing what your audiences are going to do, how they're going to react to your promotions, cutting through the message, and then really trying to relate that back to your brand voice. Why are you celebrating this specific day? Chips and dip day. What does it actually mean to you? How can you make that meaningful? It's not necessarily a bad thing to have seasonality promotions. It's not a bad thing to have these national or day celebrations in a promotional calendar-esque style, but you really need to dig deeper to see how does that relate to your audiences and how does that relate to you and your business and what you're trying to achieve and how does that look on your brand. Everything should really be customized. Even if it's celebrating National Burger Day, and you want to do that, how do you customize that to your brand? Why do people care? And I think that's really the gut test in this is like, why would somebody care? Okay, so you celebrate puppies, who cares, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure statistically there's more dog owners than cat owners. Could be wrong. Haven't done any research. I'm sure people will give me a call now about that. But like,
Yeah, to all of our cat loving friends.
yeah,
We
we
love
love
cats
them.
equally.
My in-laws have cats. I had cats growing up. It's, but there's still a level of appeal there where no matter what you do, you're going to alienate some of your audience. Sometimes that's good. But in this case, you kind of have to say the gut check of doing this is, why would I care? Why would somebody care? Pretend that you're the audience receiving this message. And if it doesn't pass that gut check of why do I care, then you're probably not getting the right message across. You're not showcasing your brand well enough, or you're not driving some really clear intention or action that the end user is going to take out of it.
I love what you said there because I feel like there is, that experimenting with things, right? Like, let's try it, see what it is, put your gut behind it, look at it in the eyes of your audience. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You learned from that, right? And that you just keep building the momentum and the learning from all the things that you're trying. So we're not saying not use promotional calendars. We're saying target it, make it specific, look at it in the eyes of your
Mhm.
audience. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Try something else then and keep that forward momentum. And I think, Jay, is what you're saying, as long as you keep your brand and your target audience and make that applicable and try different seasons, you're going to stand
Exactly.
out. You're going to stand
Exactly.
out.
And the key there that you mentioned was the experimentation. Like it's okay to fail, right? It's okay
Yeah.
to take risks and go against the grain, because that's how you learn, right? If
Mhm.
you are promoting with everybody else and they're all promoting the same thing, you have no real benchmark of success because you did the one thing, you did it the time frame when everybody expects it to be. the best you can look at is, okay, well, let's look at last month's, performance, or let's look at how we did last year with our coffee post to see if it was any better. But you don't learn anything from that. You just kind of get validation. Okay, we did it
Right.
and people engaged with it and it was okay. I think what's more important, to your point on the experiments, or try to experiment with failure, is to really push that boundary. Try two different messages and see which one sticks. And I think that's,
Mhm.
one of the other keys is we get locked into doing so many promotions that we only have enough time to develop one different message, one different look, and that inherently doesn't teach us anything. We can say, oh, it was a little bit more successful or a little less successful, but you don't necessarily know, was that the actual message, the actual visions, or visuals that engaged your audience. You have to run multiple messages, multiple visuals, even within a single campaign, because if you don't see how those two things compare against each other, you're not learning anything. You're just knowing it was either better or worse than last time. Not answering the question of, was this the right way? Was this the right message? Was this the right visuals? And I think that's
Right.
ultimately what we're trying to sort of achieve by breaking free of these promotional calendars, is to um, just be better marketers, and keep our eye on the prize.
I love that. I really, really do, because and I'm thinking of all of our friends out there too. Like, just getting a post out a day is a lot. And now we're saying, hey, try 4 different ones with different images. But I think when they use their gut and they listen to this, like, this would have been like, I need to self reflect. I need to self check. What am I doing, and how can I keep gaining that momentum and make myself different? And I know that sometimes boards, CEOs and stuff are
Mhm.
like, hey, Jimmy down the street is doing this. Why aren't we? And we're
Yeah,
like, hey, because we're going to try it. It's something different. And it's hard to stand up to what Jimmy, the big Jimmy's doing,
for
but you
sure.
can do it. Yeah.
For sure. And just
Yeah.
imagine, like, if you're successful in kind of walking the other direction, then now you can
Yeah.
go to your board and be like, look how much more successful this was. Look what we did here. Now it's a chance to, like, showcase your thought process, your strategy, and how it's okay to go against the grain, as long as, you're learning something ultimately.
Exactly. And before you know it, you're going to be the grain, right? People are going to start treading on your path too, I think.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
They'll find that
Yeah.
their promotional calendars aren't working as well, and then they'll try to follow yours.
They want National Ravenclaw Day.
Right. Exactly.
So
All
I'm
right.
just going to throw a few more at you today.
Okay.
Melba Toast Day.
Yeah.
What
Don't know what
is
that is.
even
I,
Melba Toast, I think.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
What Cuddle Your Kitten Day. We did talk about kittens.
We did. I didn't even know that that was
Yeah,
going to be part of the day, so that's exciting to know.
I know.
Equal opportunity for puppies and for kittens.
I mean, they were really thinking when they did this, didn't they?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, lots of hard work and effort went into these promotional
These
calendars.
calendars. Well, no matter what you want to celebrate, I'm pretty sure you can find it a day of the year that's on there, Jay. So
Oh,
I
oh, for
may
sure.
hit you up tomorrow with all the national holidays.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to Cooper. I'm sure he's keeping track of all those days, months, and weeks in the year.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So everybody follow us so that you can keep track of those days too.
Yeah,
But yeah.
awesome.
All right. Go have yourself some Melba toast. Go cuddle a kitten, pet a puppy, but have a good day, Jay.
You too.